Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I want to talk to you about 5 topics tonight. Number one is the current starvation in Gaza and what the people, particularly in the north of Gaza, are facing at the moment. The second thing that I want to talk to you about is the Jewish Oscar winner and his very bold statement when he received his award. The third and fourth things that I want to talk to you about are two military exercises. One of them is led by China, Russia, and Iran in the Oman Gulf, and the other one is with the NATO members in Northern Europe. And the final thing that I want to talk to you about is Benjamin Netanyahu's message at AIPAC. We'll begin with Gaza. Obviously, we've been speaking constantly about the starvation in Gaza and how bad the situation is. People dying from starvation, children, people have nothing to eat, literally nothing to eat. So today there was a report in North Gaza from Al Jazeera where they were describing the situation in the first couple of days in Ramadan, and the fact that people hardly have anything at all to eat. People were eating animal food and leaves for a long time in the most difficult places in Gaza, and now the situation is getting worse. The markets in Gaza, they don't have flour, they don't have tinned food. Access to water is very scarce as well. Israel targeted deliberately any water wells in Gaza, any water filtering factories. They obviously destroyed bakeries previously in the beginning of this war, and they block all of the aid from going in to the northern parts of Gaza. We've had obviously these reports about airdrops and the potential of aid coming through the sea, a corridor from Cyprus. However, with regards to the airdrop, that hardly helps dozens of families in the northern parts of Gaza. Many people don't get anything at all. That's the majority of the people. Much of the aid falls in Israeli territory and in the sea, and it's very difficult for people to obtain hardly anything of that aid. The second thing that I want to talk to you about is Jonathan Glazer. So Jonathan Glazer, he won an Oscars award for the best international film for The Zone of Interest. The man is Jewish, and he made a very bold statement at the Oscars. Now, you all know the Oscars in Hollywood and how Zionist they are. Many actors, they said that they were threatened previously not to speak. Many of them broke the silence. However, most of them, they have contracts and they are banned from talking. In many cases, they are pressured to support Israel, many times receiving vast amounts of money for it. So what did he say when he accepted the award? Firstly, the man was shaking. He looked like he was extremely nervous, as if he was about to do something that he should not be doing, really. But what he said was, quote, "Right now we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people, whether the victims of October the 7th in Israel or the ongoing attack in Gaza." Many people were silent. He had hardly anyone clapping for him, as if all of them were shocked. But the man was brave enough to stand up and say things that he should say, and it's very important coming from a Jewish person, because Israel, as he says, they hijack Jewishness, they hijack Judaism, they speak on behalf of Judaism very maliciously, not to support Judaism or the Jewish people, but to serve a neo-colonial, genocidal entity. The third and fourth things, and I think they are the most dangerous things that we'll be speaking about tonight. Number one is the Maritime Security Belt Exercises 2024. in the Gulf of Oman, led by China, Russia, and Iran. They had joint naval drills. The Russian Defense Ministry, they said that they will take up until the middle of this month. The report said the 16th of March, and they said that it's there to ensure economic maritime security. Warships and fighter jets will be included, and representatives of naval forces from Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Oman, India, and South Africa will be present as observers. From China, the Defense Ministry, they said that the drills, they were aimed at jointly maintaining regional maritime security. They said China will send guided missile destroyer Urumqi, guided missile frigate Linyi, and comprehensive supply ship Dongpinggu to participate in the exercises. They didn't provide further details, neither did the Russians. The Iranians, from their hand, they said that they reported that the exercise's main goal is to strengthen the security of the international maritime trade, combat piracy, and maritime terrorism, amongst other things. This is coming simultaneously with the biggest military exercise in decades conducted by the NATO that will take several months and will include 90,000 troops. They are having 20,000 at the moment from 13 NATO members, 20,000 troops. They are conducting drills in the north of the new member Sweden and Finland and Norway. It's the largest, obviously, in decades, and it's called the Steadfast Defender 24. Obviously, US led, and the alliance is saying that the intention is to demonstrate NATO's ability to defend every inch of its territory. Obviously, many people say that it's against Russia. Who else but Russia? Now, these two developments are signaling that things are not looking to quiet down anytime soon. We have the Red Sea Coalition, which we call the Genocide Coalition because it's there as primarily really to support Israel and to ensure that Israel continues to survive as an apartheid, oppressive, occupying force in the Middle East, the last neo-colonial entity that exists in the Middle East, despite the fact that their crimes have been proven for over 75 years and they've been highlighted to the whole world now. Obviously, China, Russia, and Iran are not gonna sit there doing nothing. We spoke previously about the potential of Iran being attacked, and if so, obviously it would be a last resort, but if Iran will be attacked, Russia and China will no longer be silent. They have the support for Iran, and Iran obviously supports its allies in the region, but if Iran as a state is targeted, neither Russia nor China will be silent. Which leads me to the final thing that I want to talk about, which is Netanyahu's speech at AIPAC. So, you know AIPAC, the organization that buys your politicians, and not many people speak about it, really, enough to the level they should be speaking about it. Mainstream media, it's as if it doesn't exist, really. AIPAC's strength and the Zionist lobbies in America. But Benjamin Netanyahu had a virtual address to AIPAC in their conference in the US. He mentioned a couple of things that I wanted to highlight for you. Firstly, he said that he deeply appreciates the support that they receive from Joe Biden and that he hopes it will continue. Obviously, the situation between him and Biden, it hasn't been great for very many years, but when it comes to the strategic support of the US to Israel, it's beyond the leaders. It's no longer about leaders, it's about the countries and the geopolitical position, the economic position Israel has in relation to the US and its allies, obviously. Netanyahu adds, but let me be clear, Israel will win this war no matter what. The man is convinced. You know, they've had over 5 months now. They haven't had any significant military accomplishments. Their military is defeated and humiliated. We constantly talk about the resistance actions against them in Gaza, in North Gaza, in every single part of Gaza, despite the fact that they keep telling us that they dismantled most of the brigades of the resistance, etc. But they're being defeated, they're being humiliated, they're struggling militarily, they don't have the numbers, and they even need more equipment. He added that they must operate in Rafah. So we've had talks about Rafah for 2 months now. Obviously, we've had Egypt taking certain measures in Sinai. International criticism. Today, the EU even said that they don't want to see an operation in Rafah. The US criticized an operation in Rafah previously. Many countries did as well. And Israel obviously doesn't care and continues with these threats. He said that if they do not attack Rafah, that Hamas will regroup, rearm, and reconquer Gaza. Number one, even without you invading Rafah, Hamas is still functioning as a group, clearly. There's still hierarchy, even in Hamas. They are still fighting alongside the other resistance movements. They still have weapons. They produce weapons. They destroyed approximately 1,200 Israeli tanks and vehicles so far. And your army is not having any sort of developments with them on the ground in Gaza. You can't say that Israel accomplished something significant against the Palestinian armed resistance in Gaza. What you can say is that they caused a lot of destruction. They killed over 31,000 innocent civilians. They displaced people. They are starving people to death. They're committing a genocide. Yes, you can say that. But when it comes to the armed resistance against the Palestinians, they cannot defeat them. Simple. So the fact that he's still talking about Rafah is really absurd and dishonest. And then you're talking about reconquering Gaza, as if Hamas conquered Gaza, as if the Palestinians conquered their own land. I mean, the only occupying force we have here is Israel. Israel came, occupied Palestine in 1948, and it proved that it's a neo-colonial expansionist project. That's why they went on and occupied Sinai. That's why they went on and occupied South Lebanon. That's why they have plans that everyone who with a slight knowledge knows about the greater Israel, because it's a neo-colonialist, expansionist, apartheid, supremacist ethnocracy. This is what Israel is about. And the notion about Hamas reconquering Gaza is very absurd, really. Hamas won democratic elections in 2006 that the previous US President Jimmy Carter monitored himself through his organization, even claimed that they were the most democratic elections ever held in any Arab country. That's the US President, former President Jimmy Carter. So the notion that they are reconquering their own land, again, absurd but typical neo-colonialist, arrogant approach. He continued after he said that this is an intolerable threat to our future and we will not accept it. We will destroy Hamas, free our hostages, and ensure Gaza doesn't pose a threat to Israel again. And again, we repeat, if Israel, with all its military force, with all the support from the biggest superpower on the planet, with all the vetoes possible, with all the weapons aid, political aid from the US, hasn't been able to destroy Hamas or even harm their capability, ladies and gentlemen, make their actions against Israel less intense, Stop them from doing something they were doing before. Get their prisoners back from Gaza. The only way they got their prisoners back is through negotiations. Did people forget that? Plus, Israel repeats the same notion over and over again that they want to release their prisoners. They killed over 80 of their prisoners. They killed over 50 of these prisoners only in the first month. The Palestinians constantly reveal names of more Israeli prisoners in Gaza being killed by Israeli forces. Israel had targeted assassinations against certain figures from the Palestinian armed resistance, knowing that they had Israeli prisoners with them, and killed them deliberately. And they caused outrage in Israel with their families, again, that we spoke about previously. They killed 3 of their prisoners fleeing captivity in Gaza, raising white flags and speaking in Hebrew. Did people forget that? Israel is not worried about its prisoners in Gaza. Israel has a plan for Gaza that has been there for over 50 years to ethnically cleanse Gaza, like they have plans to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians in the West Bank. And many of them also stated their dissatisfaction with the Palestinians who are Israeli citizens as well. One of their ministers, Bezalel Smotrich, he stated a couple of years ago to an Israeli member of Knesset, we made a mistake in 1948. Ben Gurion should have expelled all of you. Again, confirming that there was an ethnic cleansing campaign, that they expelled people from their own land and established their state on the indigenous people's stolen land and at their expense. He, though, reassured Netanyahu. He wanted to reassure the people of Gaza. He promised that Israel will finish the job in Rafah, so the man is certain that they will finish the job in Rafah, while enabling the civilian population to get out of harm's way. Whenever the civilian population in Gaza wanted to go out of harm's way, Israel was attacking them, was killing them deliberately. Israel's main aim is to destroy the civilian population. That's why they target them deliberately. Israel has the technology to avoid civilian casualties in Gaza. It chooses not to. Why? Because they want to kill as many people as possible and expel as many people as possible in Gaza. And it's evident from the starvation tool used as well, which is a war crime. Ladies and gentlemen, we must not forget that. So this claim, again, I'm not sure. Well, he's speaking to AIPAC, to be fair. I mean, he's not speaking like that. He's speaking to AIPAC. Well, what are we expecting, really? He added as well, note to the allies of Israel. To our friends in the international community, I say this. You cannot say that you support Israel's right to defend itself and then oppose Israel when it exercises that right. Highlighting that what Israel is doing in Gaza is self-defense. Invading someone's property, killing people, genocide, starvation, all of that is self-defense. He continued that you cannot say you oppose Hamas' strategy of using civilians as human shields and then blame Israel for the civilian casualties that results from this Hamas cynical strategy. He added that for Israel, every civilian death is a tragedy. For Israel, every civilian death is a tragedy. For Hamas, every single civilian death is a strategy. He added that. Israel's very future, its very survival is at stake. We have no other option but total victory, and that victory is in and within reach. He finished, and obviously I'll leave that comment up to you, especially those in America, that the overwhelming majority of the American people stand with us. We'll finish it there. Thank you so much for joining me for this video, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care.